a very warm welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Sanam Shantier. Coming up on our programme this week, coronavirus. Iran emerges as a regional threat. We'll be speaking to Yasaman Hejazi, who's using social media to counter misinformation on the disease. Also coming up this week, former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak dies in hospital at 91. His 30-year grip on power was upended during the Arab Spring back in 2011. Thank you for watching Middle East Matters. We start with the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, which is dominating headlines across the globe, and it's no different in the Middle East, where Iran has become the focal point of the epidemic. Inside the Islamic Republic, death toll rates are rather misleading. It is clear, however, that the holy city of Qom is the epicenter of that outbreak. Now, while Iranian authorities have been implementing measures to stop the spread of coronavirus, some have slammed various local media outlets for misinforming. This presenter actually claimed that perhaps with warmer temperatures, the virus may vanish. Let's now take a listen to a few local residents in Tehran reacting to the spread of COVID-19.
The state TV gives us statistics, but when we go to the hospitals, we see something different. The number of people who died is much higher.
I'm really scared. There are no masks in the pharmacies. The government should give masks for free to the people if they want to contain this. God help us.
Now, inside Iran, with misinformation fast spreading, one social media campaign wants to change all that. At the helm of that initiative, we have Yasaman Hejazi. She's a sports entrepreneur, and she joins us from Tehran. Yasaman, thank you so much for being with us. Now, as I just mentioned, you work in sports. Why did you decide to get behind this campaign?
It's exactly that. In my line of work, we have a lot of contacts. We kiss each other, we shake hands, and this is very important in our culture and for me to have physical contact. And it became very important after the coronavirus hit Iran. So, as someone with influence and connections, I felt responsible to do something.
Now, can you tell us how this campaign is taking shape, Yasaman?
We started off by producing badges like this one I have, saying no to virus. It's in English for people to understand it. But our slogan for our campaign is, I love you, therefore I won't shake hands with you. So we distributed these badges to all the sports centers and to people to realize that they are avoiding physical contact and not to get offended if they don't want to shake hands.
And of course, you've been distributing those badges to the public, and there's also this video that's been circulating on social media. Tell us about that very briefly, if you can.
We did a video campaign which has been picked up on by blogs and influencer accounts. It's been circulating all around the country, and when I'm speaking to people, they've already seen it.
Okay, so a lot of people have been seeing it. It's getting a lot of traction. What kind of reactions are you getting from people inside Iran?
We've already have mixed reactions. Initially, some people were criticizing us, saying that we love to shake hands or kiss each other. But this was before we were aware of the high number of deaths in Iran.
Of course, inside Iran, the highest number of deaths outside China. How do you think authorities inside the country are handling the spread of the virus? Because there has been quite a bit of criticism out there, hasn't there?
Well, given the restrictions, I think they are doing an okay job. And, it's very important to know that we are in a sanction, and we don't have enough access to testing kits, alcohol, hand sanitizer. There is a shortage of all of this.
And of course, despite the restrictions, there's also a lot of criticism over Iran for not being transparent enough and a lot of misinformation that's out there. Now, for now, I'd like to thank you, Yasaman Hejazi, for being with us here on Middle East Matters. Thank you. Now, staying with that story, we're going to zoom out of Iran and take a look at the spread of the coronavirus across the region. As France 24's Luke Schrago explained, several countries, including Iraq, Turkey and Afghanistan, have closed their borders with the Islamic Republic, deemed to be the hub of the disease in the Middle East.
Is the COVID-19 outbreak accelerating across the Middle East? New cases have been coming to light in the region after Lebanon was among the first to bring it to the world's attention last week.
The ministry team was ready and went to the plane and scanned all of the passengers. And when it was evident that this case was suffering from symptoms, she was separated directly by the Red Crescent and brought to the Rafa Kariri University Hospital.
The passenger had travelled from Iran, where the outbreak continues to worsen. From the UAE to Iraq and Kuwait, border closures and other measures went into effect over the next few days as each nation began finding its own patients.
As we did with China, Hong Kong and Iran, flying to and from Iraq will be prohibited.
Turkey too diverted a flight from Iran, quarantining the passengers. As concern spiralled, there could be carriers on board. Even so, the world's efforts may not be enough. The World Health Organization has already warned that given how many nations are struggling with containment, it's in a phase of preparing for a potential global pandemic.
Turning our attention to Egypt, where Hosni Mubarak, that's the country's former president, has died at the age of 91. He ruled the country with an iron fist for 3 decades before he was overthrown by popular uprising back in 2011. Here's a look back at his life and career.
For 3 decades, he was Egypt's strongman, but it took just 18 days of protests to topple Hosni Mubarak.
President Hosni Mubarak has decided to step down as head of state and to entrust the affairs of state to the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces.
Hosni Mubarak was Egypt's longest-serving president. In his time in power, he came to be regarded as a key regional ally by the West, despite his authoritarian rule. Born in 1928, Hosni Mubarak was first and foremost a military man. Having served as Minister of Defense, he was promoted to Air Marshal for his distinguished record during the Yom Kippur War. The war hero became president after the assassination of Anwar Sadat in 1981, a leader who had signed a controversial peace treaty with his Israeli counterpart. For much of Mubarak's first decade in power, Egypt remained suspended from the Arab League. His continued engagement with Israel angered many at home and abroad. But the strategy won praise from the United States and also put Mubarak in prime position to assume the role of key negotiator in the neighboring conflict.
This new phase needs to be the phase of peace, to bring about total peace and create an independent Palestinian state.
While in office, Mubarak actively clamped down on Islamist movements and imposed a state of emergency. His stance earned him vital support from the US. Washington sent over $1 billion a year to Cairo in military aid. While receiving Western support, Mubarak continued to be accused of human rights abuses, muzzling the press and stifling the opposition. Over the years, he was re-elected 4 times. On 3 occasions, he ran unopposed. Along with his autocratic rule, it was persistent poverty and anger at entrenched corruption that brought hundreds of thousands of demonstrators onto the streets in early 2011. At first, the president remained defiant.
This great nation is my homeland. I have lived in it, I fought for it and defended its soil, sovereignty and interests. On its soil I will die. History will judge me and all of us.
His judicial reckoning came sooner rather than later. Shortly after his resignation, Egypt held its first democratic election. Mohamed Morsi became president and Mubarak was tried, accused of complicity in killing hundreds of protesters. On June 2, 2012, he was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. But a year later, military rule returned when another top military figure, General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, overthrew Morsi. In 2017, Hosni Mubarak was acquitted on appeal. He walked free after 6 years behind bars. Mubarak's last years were split between his seaside villa in Sharm el-Sheikh and a military hospital in Cairo.
Well, that's it for us for Middle East Matters this week. Thank you for watching. Do stay tuned.